Welcome to the Ranking Things podcast, a production of Jason Davis VoiceOver. Please visit jasondavisvoice.com for information about voiceover services for commercials, internet and corporate videos, e-learning, phone messages, and more. I'm Jason Davis.
And I'm Eric Wright.
And every episode, we're going to choose a topic to rank and defend our choices. Email us, rankingpodcast@yahoo.com, or tweet @JasonDavisVoice. Eric, today we are going to talk about songs that make you want to drive fast.
Yes. There's like so many friggin' songs. And you know what? And there's a lot of standbys. People would say, oh, you have to include this and that and this and that. I'm like, yeah, but you know, that's like everybody's. I kind of wanted to really focus more on what I thought.
By the way, I want to dedicate this episode to my buddy Brian Blaze Berkowitz.
Blazer.
You can find him at berklaw.com, BERKlaw.com. One of the things he defends against are speeding tickets, so this is right up his alley, this episode.
All right.
Well, what do you got for number 5?
All right. So my number 5 is the Captain and Tennille Muskrat Love.
All right. Stop with the goofing around.
When I hear that song, I wanted to go so fast into a brick wall.
I was going to say, it makes me want to drive off the fucking road.
I worked all week on that one. So, no, my number 5, Bruce Springsteen from his third album, 1975, Born to Run.
Aha.
And it is Born to Run.
Okay.
That song is just, like he says, it's an uplifting ode to escapism. You're driving in your car and it has a driving beat to it. It's not, you know, a massive pounding heavy metal type of thing at all, but it's got this good driving beat to it. I get lost in the words and it's just, I'm singing it and I'm imagining, you know, myself like going up and down the parkway or driving along the shore. And it just, before you know it, you know, the foot's all the way down on the gas. And it's not because I'm like, you know, banging my head. Blah, blah, blah. It's just because I'm singing the song and there's this doom, 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 just kind of going through the whole time. Yeah. So that's what it does for me. I found out that it took 14 months to record the album. Wow. And he actually worked 6 months on just Born to Run, the song, because he kept hearing, you know, sounds in his head, but he couldn't get it out and explain it to, you know, the other musicians.
That's interesting because, you know, back then, artists usually recorded albums a lot quicker. I mean, nowadays, you know, people, they go in the studio and well, in a lot of cases, they spend a lot of time with Pro Tools, you know, noodling around and all kinds of shit. But back then, I mean, especially a band like the E Street Band, they would go into the studio and probably record as a band. And then if they had to do overdubs for like, you know, a vocal or a guitar part, maybe they would do that. But so it's interesting that it took them that long to record that.
Yeah, the first 2 albums were more like that. But the third album, he wanted to, you know, get more appeal. So he kind of cut back on all the Jerseyisms. I mean, there's still plenty in there, but you know, there's themes in there everybody can identify with. But yeah, he went through a different type of recording process in order to get all these layers of sound that, you know, he said he didn't really have as much in the first 2 albums.
That's certainly one of his more enduring tunes. So good choice for number 5.
And, you know, you're just driving, baby, we were born to run. You can't help but just be like, you know, I'm leaning up, singing into the rearview mirror. Well, then my foot's way down on the pedal. Yep. And that's what it does for me. What's your 5?
By the way, that's what happens, too, sometimes with these songs. You're driving along and you don't even realize you're doing 80, you know?
No, exactly. I think that's what, for me, they all have in common.
Yeah, definitely. So number 5 for me, they're a New Jersey band that I think should have been huge. And unfortunately, they just either the timing was off or they just didn't have the record company support that they needed. But they're a group called Prophet. They had a pretty good local following and one of the better live bands you're ever going to see. But they have an album that was released in 1988 called Cycle of the Moon. To me, one of my favorite hard rock albums of all time. In fact, I would definitely put it on my Desert Island disc list if I was to make one.
Okay.
It's a great album, great progressive hard rock, great musicians, a great singer, great songs. And the song that I'm choosing as my number 5 is actually a deeper cut from the album. And it's actually not even the best song on the album, but it's a great song. Red Line Rider, it's called. The album Cycle of the Moon is available on Amazon. You can either buy a CD because it was re-released in 2014, or if you have the unlimited music service, Cycle of the Moon, Prophet, a great album, a great band, Red Line Rider, a great song to drive really fast to.
I've written it down.
Okay, very good.
Is there like certain lyrics to it, or is there like the beat? I mean, what is it that gets you going?
The lyrics are definitely about driving fast, so it actually makes sense. It's a literal drive fast kind of song. And just the tempo of the song makes you want to drive fast.
Okay. Very fair. I'll have to look that up.
So that's my number 5. What do you got for number 4, my friend?
For number 4, kind of going back to my classic rock roots, this was a song that I would hear on the radio so often, and it brings me back a lot to high school and college. And it is off Zeppelin 4 from 1971. Been a long time since I rock and roll. How can you not just lower your foot when you're hearing this song? You just can't. I mean, this could be easily 10 Zeppelin songs, and they could be ranging from rock and roll, immigrant song, where you're just like you're banging your head and you're pumping your gas pedal foot, and or it can even go to like Stairway to Heaven or Dazed and Confused, where you're just getting lost in the song, and before you know it, your foot has just gone down all the way to the floor. And so just Zeppelin has to be here. For me, that was a representative song because I heard it so often on my long drives back and forth to South Carolina.
Yeah. You've heard of getting the lead out. This is getting the lead foot out.
Absolutely. Absolutely getting the lead out.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I might have even been pulled over when I was listening to this song, or probably a Zeppelin song.
Yeah.
Got pulled over in North Carolina, and guys, I know about you, but we got laws down here, North Carolina. Get out of the car.
Zeppelin, get out of the car, long hair.
What do you got in the trunk?
Yeah, Zeppelin definitely has a lot of songs that you can put the pedal to the metal to, no doubt.
So what's your 4?
Number 4 for me is another deep cut from another 80s hard rock band. And I promise after this, no more obscure stuff. But I had to include this because I'm telling you, every time I hear this song, I've thought to myself, man, this is definitely a song I'd put on the top 5 list of songs I want to drive fast to. It's a song called Hard Driver from a group called Badlands.
Oh, right.
Badlands was formed by former Ozzy guitarist Jakey Lee, and at the time, former Black Sabbath singer Ray Gillen, and his bandmate at the time, a little-known drummer called Eric Singer, who has gone on to play in Kiss and Alice Cooper. Yeah. The story about the band is they had a couple of albums. Then there was a big falling out within the band, and then Ray Gillen passed away in 1993 after the band broke up. Eric Singer only played on the first record, but he really made his mark, especially with this tune. It's got a killer driving beat, a pounding bass line. Then you got Jakey Lee, who's an amazing guitar player.
Yeah.
Ray Gillen has those soaring vocals that are very similar to like a Robert Plant. In fact, a lot of the music on the Badlands album, the first album especially, is very reminiscent of classic Zeppelin, but with a more kind of 80s sound to it. It's really good stuff. There's a lot of bluesy kind of stuff, but this song is just a real hard driving, which is appropriate because that's the name of the song, Hard Driver.
Driving.
But it's just really, it's real easy to lose track of the needle on your speedometer when you're listening to the song. I love the whole album. Another album that I highly recommend if you're a fan of good, solid, blues-based hard rock. But Hard Driver from Badlands, number 4 for me. What do you got for number 3? Yeah, number 3.
All right. Well, 3, for me, Van Halen has to be on this list. And there's, again, could be a bunch of different songs, but the one that hits me the most, which is different than getting lost in the words and everything. This is just more of a killer hard power riff that just gets me going. From 1984, it's Panama.
Okay.
And Panama holds a dear, dear place in my heart because back in college, me and a few friends won an air band contest, and Panama was the encore song that we did.
Okay.
And it was great because 1984 had just come out, and Jump was really the only song that was, being heard on the radio. So we were kind of ahead of our time because we also did Hot for Teacher.
Okay.
And Jump. We did Hot for Teacher and Jump, and then we won, and then we did Panama. And it was great because people came up to us afterwards and they're like, where are these songs? I never heard. It was like, this is brand new stuff. This is their new album. And people were like, really? Yeah. What's it called? 1984. Easy to remember because, it was 1984.
They were at their peak at that time in terms of their popularity.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say a lot about Panama because, I'll have more to say later.
Oh, no.
But I will say this.
Need to branch out more.
I will say, no, not at all. I will say this about Van Halen. They have a truckload of songs that are easy to speed to. As far as your air band stuff, I mean, if there wasn't a band that was more tailor-made for air banding than Van Halen, who is it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was the lead fake singer, and I just loved, trying to emulate David Lee Roth, jumping and spinning kicks and all that stuff. So it was just, it was great. We had so much fun doing them.
Is there any video footage of you doing this, by the way?
Oh, God, I hope not.
Oh, man, I wish there were.
All right, so what's yours?
Number 3 for me is an obvious choice. Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55.
Drive 55. Yes, okay.
I know it's a cliche. I know it's really obvious, but come on. You hear that song, you got to put your foot down a little more, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree with you. And actually, I agree so much that for me, it's actually on my cliche list.
Yeah.
Because it's just made for that. So it's its own little genre.
I just feel like it deserves to be in the top 5. The interesting thing is that technically it's not Sammy's highest charting solo hit.
Okay.
That honor goes to Your Love Is Driving Me Crazy, which reached number 13 in 1983. I Can't Drive 55 reached number 24 on the singles chart about a year or two before he joined Van Halen. And he's had a couple of other pretty good hits, too, as a solo artist. Maybe not on the charts, but like ones that got a lot of airplay on MTV or concert staples or whatever. But there's only one way to rock.
Metal, the song Heavy Metal is like his best.
Yeah, the song Heavy Metal's great. And that's another one that you definitely want to drive fast. And There's Only One Way to Rock is another, another one with a great tempo for speeding. But there's a couple of interesting things about this song. The inspiration for the song came after Sammy was pulled over while driving at 2 a.m. from Albany to Lake Placid. He was going to see his son, who was attending boarding school at that time. Sammy said that a cop stopped me for doing 62 on a 4-lane road when there was no one in sight. And then he gave him a ticket. He said, I was doing 62, and he said, well, we give tickets around here for over 60. And I said, I can't drive 55. And then he says, I grabbed a paper and pen, and I swear the guy was writing the ticket, and I was writing the lyrics. I got to Lake Placid, I had a guitar set up there, and I wrote that song there on the spot. Another funny story, former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin was reportedly pulled over in her Alaskan hometown in 2014 for doing 63 in a 45 while she was listening to the song on the radio. And then Sammy tweeted to her saying, Dear Sarah Palin, heard you were going rogue on the gas pedal. I'll cover your ticket if you promise to do better next time. Hashtag I Can't Drive 55.
I can see Russia from my house.
So the song was also featured in a couple movies, most famously in Back to the Future 2. If there was ever a theme song for speeding, it's got to be this one, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my number 3, Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive 55. What do you got for number 2?
All right, number 2 is from an awesome album, 2007, Minutes to Midnight, Linkin Park. It's their song Bleed It Out, which just starts out and stays just power chords all the way through. It's a fantastic song. I wrote down some of the lyrics here just because from the very get-go, it just grabbed you. Bear with me for a second because I'm not much of I'm not a singer. I'm not a rapper. I'm definitely not a hard metal rapper either. But here we go. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Here we go for the 100th time. Hand grenade pins in every line. Throw them up and let something shine. Going out of my fucking mind. Filthy mouth, no excuse. Fill a place to hang this noose. String me up from atop those roofs. Not so tight, it won't get loose. Truth isn't you could stop and stare. Rub myself out and no one cares. And then it just keeps going. And then I bleed it out deep and deeper just to give it away. I bleed it out. Holy your foot just wants to go kick the engine, So
your foot goes through the floorboard. You're scraping on the pavement.
You're doing the Fred Flintstone thing. It's freaking awesome. That album is so great, and there's so many good songs on it. And man, Bleed It Out. If you don't move when you hear this song, and you don't move somewhat violently, then you are dead.
By the way, kudos on that performance.
Oh, I thank you.
That was awesome, dude.
Do I have a new career? Maybe. So that's my number 2. What's yours?
Number 2 for me is Panama from Van Halen.
Okay.
To me, Panama is the perfect rock song. Okay. You got the great riff. You got Diamond Dave's swagger. Yes, you got the catchy chorus. And of course, the killer guitar solo from Eddie, right?
Right, right.
So the lyrics were inspired by a stripper that David Lee Roth met in Arizona.
Of course.
As he explained on the Howard Stern show, the song came about after an interviewer accused him of only writing lyrics about sex, drugs, and fast cars. Either during or after the interview, Dave realized that he never actually wrote a song about fast cars, so he started working on the lyrics to Panama.
Okay.
He later admitted in another interview that, as it turns out, he had been writing about a stripper he knew without realizing it. The finished the finished lyrics were inspired by both the stripper and the car. It's just a fantastic song. There's even a sound of Eddie Van Halen's Lamborghini in there, which you can hear very clearly, of course, when he goes, "I could barely see the road from the heat coming off." Yeah.
So, and it's great because on the video, they do a hairdryer.
Right.
That sounds so funny. It's great.
And this, by the way, is another song that's been used, in movies and video games. It was featured in the driving video game Gran Turismo 4.
Okay.
And in the film Superbad, which is a fun film.
Oh.
So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, Panama's just a great track. It's just fucking awesome.
Right. Well, and in the same breath, I would put something like "Everybody Wants Some."
Oh yeah, sure.
Absolutely. That was in some silly '80s movie like
Better Off Dead.
Better Off Dead.
Yeah,
okay.
Better Off Dead with John Cusack, Curtis Armstrong. Great movie and a great scene where they have like the claymation hamburger playing the guitar and stuff. I call him Eddie Van Hamburger.
That's great. All right.
What do you got for number one?
Number one?
Yes, sir.
All right. So my number one, I'm going back a little bit. Mm-hmm. This is a song that I get just totally lost in. It's got great lyrics. It's got a very unique, this band just has a real unique sound. They've been around since, I think, like 1968.
Okay.
From 1980, the album Permanent Waves. It's Rush's Spirit of the Radio.
It's a great song and a great choice for a driving fast song, too. Definitely.
It's not on purpose, but it's just, the way the song starts with right. And it's that funky, hollow kind of sound. I don't know how to describe his sound. So it gets your heart pumping right away. And then there's that comes in. And then you get into just the guitar. And I mean, the three of them are playing their instruments like they're a lead.
Oh, my God.
They still melt. It's unbelievable.
Their musicianship is off the charts on pretty much everything they do, but in this song in particular, not only because of that great opening guitar riff or lick, whatever you want to call it, but also the fact that this song goes through so many different timing changes and stuff. It's awesome. Yeah,
it's almost like their little calypso thing in the middle.
Yep.
It's awesome. You start just with the lyrics and you're singing, "Begin the day with the friendly voice, a companion on up," and you're just like, and you're off. You're thinking about being on the radio, or you're thinking about maybe I'm a band and I'm being interviewed on the radio, and the mind just wanders. Of course, you get to what I think is one of the best lines ever written. "One likes to believe in the freedom of music, but glittering prizes and endless compromises shatter the illusions of integrity." Yeah. Again, you're dead if you're not moving to this song. And if you know the lyrics, you're just getting lost in them. And the pedal just makes its way down. And you don't even mean it.
Neil Peart, probably one of the best lyricists of all time in rock music. I mean, just phenomenal stuff. Not everybody loves Rush. I like a lot of their stuff. This song, definitely quintessential Rush. I mean, it's a killer track, no doubt.
Oh, yeah. It's actually Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's. They have it in the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll.
Interesting.
So that's a pretty big accolade.
No doubt.
Really, it is a different song.
Absolutely.
It really is. Also, this surprised me because, like you said, how much recognition does Rush get? It's like, they're popular, but they're not mega popular. Well, actually, their sales stats put them behind only the Beatles and the Rolling Stones for the most consecutive gold or platinum albums.
Wow.
Yeah. So I feel better because I always thought they didn't get their due. Have you ever seen them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw them. I can't remember which tour I saw them on. It might have been the Roll the Bones tour. Mr. Big was opening, who's another great band, by the way. But yeah, Rush is, they're amazing, amazingly talented. No question about it. And I think that the reason that maybe they haven't had the kind of mainstream success as some other bands or, hard rock or whatever is because they're a little cerebral sometimes for maybe some people. Admittedly, there's a lot of their stuff that either goes over my head or it's too much for me or whatever. But when they strip it down enough where it's just hard driving, riffs and drums and everything, I think that's when they're at their best. Personally, that's what I think.
I feel, somewhat the same way, because even their stripped down songs have a uniqueness to them, an intellectualness to them. I think, I used to work with a couple engineers, and Rush was like their favorite band. And, they introduced me to some of their stuff, like, The Trees. And I was like, whoa, this is something. This is something cool.
No question. They're in a league of their own as far as rock bands go, and definitely deserve whatever accolades they get, for being influential, because they're phenomenal, no question.
All right, so here we go. What's your number one, bud?
Number one for me, Detroit Rock City from Kiss.
There you go. All right.
To me, one of the all-time great rock songs. We've talked about it on other episodes of this podcast for other reasons. I hear that opening riff, and it just pumps me up. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And then Peter Criss comes in with probably one of his better drumming performances. Just a great driving beat. No wonder that Kiss has opened their shows with this one a lot over the years, and it stood the test of time and has been a classic for more than 40 years.
Wow, 40 years.
Yeah, 1976. So when Kiss was preparing to record the follow-up to the breakthrough album, Alive, they decided that they wanted to maybe do something a little bit different. So they hired Bob Ezrin, who had a lot of success working with Alice Cooper.
Okay.
And it was the first time that they really worked with a producer who kind of challenged them to stretch themselves as a band. Up until that point, they basically wrote what they knew. They wrote about having fun and getting laid. They didn't really, there wasn't really any real substance.
Right.
Which is fine for, rock music. AC/DC has probably done that for every one of their albums, which, and they're great. Ezrin really wanted the band to, write lyrics beyond that. And Paul Stanley said on a previous tour, somebody had gotten hit by a car and killed outside the arena. I remember thinking how weird it is that people can be on their way to something that's really a party and a celebration of being alive and die in the process of doing it. So that became the basis of the lyric. And, the original song that Paul Stanley came up with had a little bit of a different arrangement. It was Bob Ezrin who came up with that little gap in the music during the verse that, that and he also wrote the guitar solo, which is also very iconic and very different from anything that Kiss had done before that. That sort of like Spanish-themed guitar solo. Yeah. So, Detroit Rock City, the reason that I think it's stood the test of time and is definitely one of the classic Kiss songs is because it's definitely different from a lot of the other stuff that they've done, but it's also unmistakably Kiss. Right. And probably, if I were to do a top 5 Kiss songs, as far as my favorite Kiss songs, it would certainly be in that conversation too. And also featured in movies, Role Models, great movie, and Paul Blart Mall Cop, a funny scene where he's playing Guitar Hero to that. So,
oh really?
Yeah. Okay. So Detroit Rock City from Kiss, number 1 on the songs that make me want to drive fast.
Beautiful.
Honorable mentions.
Crazy amount of them.
Let's just go through them fast. Let's not talk too much about individual things.
Okay,
just so we can get through them all.
U2, I'm a huge U2 fan,
right?
And I didn't have any on my top 5, but Electrico, one of their older songs, also Vertigo and stand-up comedy, a couple of their
Vertigo is definitely a good
stuff.
one.
Yeah, I had a bunch of standbys. Okay, so your typical like Radar Love by Golden Earring.
Okay.
Ballroom Blitz by Sweet.
Okay, good one.
Another duh. Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones. Duh. Born to be Wild. Double duh.
Yeah. The opening lyric to Born to be Wild, get your motor running. Come on.
Right.
Head out on the highway. Yeah.
Yeah. Turning Japanese by the Vapors.
Okay.
Rock Lobster, B-52s. Tequila by the Champs. Okay.
Interesting.
Like and then start getting into some of the, kind of funkier stuff, like Play That Funky Music, White Boy, Brick House, I Feel Good and Out of Sight by James Brown.
Okay.
Hi!
Yeah.
Yeah, how can you not be jumping around when you got James Brown on you?
No doubt.
The Beatles, Helter Skelter.
Okay.
Get to the bottom, I go back to the top of the slide, and the whole. It's
that's certainly probably one of the heavier Beatles songs too. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Helter Skelter.
No. That's a great riff too.
Then, Boston, More Than a Feeling. That's because of a girl broke up with me, and I was driving home singing and crying to that song. And so that just, Let's see, some other standbys like Ozzy, Crazy Train. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Can't Stop. I don't know all the words.
Okay.
System of a Down, Chop Suey. That's weird. That song makes you kind of drive and then stop and then drive and stop because of the way it goes. Yeah, the way that song goes. Dead Milkmen, Bitchin' Camaro.
Okay.
The only thing is, the fast part only lasts like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, if that. So it's like, you don't get really going that much. And then Outlaws, Green Grass and High Tides is a cruising song because that's like a 20-minute song.
Okay.
Okay. And then Queen, Sheer Heart Attack, which freaking blew me away. It's like this raw, almost punky kind of thing. So Sheer Heart Attack.
Yeah.
Give that a listen.
The thing about Queen that I love is that they are musical chameleons. They play
yes.
They play so many different styles of music, so many different genres. Yeah. They're amazing. Amazing group.
Oh, I missed Hailstorm.
Okay.
I missed The Misery. That's someone that Ben brought up for me to look at.
Okay.
And Beartooth in between.
You gotta love Women That Rock.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just something crazy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Banana Splits by the Dickies. La 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 la.
Was that the version that was in Kick-Ass? Did you ever see the movie Kick-Ass?
No, I did not.
That's a great flick.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a great fight scene in that movie where they have like a punk version of that Banana Split song, and I wonder if it's the Dickies version. It's gotta be. Okay. It's gotta be.
And I got like the Aquabats Pool Party and a bunch of other stuff. They're kind of like ska punk. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that was my list. What do you get?
I gotta say, one of the things that I enjoy about doing these podcasts about music with you is your eclectic taste. You are all over the place, and I love that about you. I am not so eclectic.
Right.
My list of honorable mentions is pretty much all hard rock, so I'm going to run down the list. A few Van Halen songs besides Panama, Atomic Punk and On Fire from the first record.
I'm on fire!
Yeah, I mean, come on. And Atomic Punk, too. And Unchained. Dude, Unchained from Fair Warning.
Unchained! Yes, Unchained.
That's an awesome track. Death Alley Driver from Rainbow's Straight Between the Eyes album, which is a great song. Okay. Steal Away the Night from Ozzy Osbourne from the Blizzard of Oz album. It's a deeper cut than Crazy Train. Crazy Train's a great choice too, by the way, but Steal Away, just a great up-tempo track. A few songs from Judas Priest make my honorable mentions, and honestly could easily have been in the top 5. I purposely wanted to put Prophet and Badlands in there because they're overlooked. They're not really groups that get a lot of recognition, and they deserve it. They're both great. But Judas Priest has several songs that I think could be in this conversation. Riding on the Wind and Electric Eye. I mentioned Electric Eye in the top album openers episode, but it's also a great song to drive fast to. Hellbent for Leather. Is a great track, and Delivering the Goods is also another great Judas Priest speeding song.
Okay.
For Mr. Big, Addicted to That Rush from their debut. A song from Foreigner called Can't Slow Down. Foreigner also has a lot of hits, too, that would make the grade for this list, but Can't Slow Down's a really good track. Coming At You Live from Tesla.
Oh, right, yeah.
From Creatures of the Night, the song Danger from Kiss. Heartbreaker and Promises in the Dark from Pat Benatar.
Oh, yeah.
Promises in the Dark, my favorite Pat Benatar song of all time. The guitar solo on that song is so awesome.
Yeah.
And her voice just unbelievable on the track.
Her voice was awesome.
Oh my God. And Heartbreaker, just the driving drum beat and again, the great guitar work from Neil Giraldo on that song. The title track from Live to Win by Paul Stanley.
Okay.
Livin' the Life from Steel Dragon, which is sort of a made-up band, but it's from the film Rockstar. Great song.
Oh, okay.
From Ace Frehley's 1978 Kiss solo album, the opening track, Rip It Out. Stage Fright from Def Leppard's Pyromania album.
Oh, yeah, right.
The Trooper from Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind album.
Okay.
Led Zeppelin's Communication Breakdown, a classic.
Sure.
And then a couple of Bon Jovi tracks, Raise Your Hands and Wild in the Streets, both from the Slippery When Wet album.
Okay.
And listen, I could probably come up with a ton more, but that's where I stopped when I was putting the list together because, we didn't want to be here all day, right?
Right. And, I even have Flight of the Valkyries by Wagner.
Right.
Dun, 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 dun. I mean,
which we all know as Kill the Wabbit, Kill the Wabbit.
Yeah, that makes you drive fast because you get lost in it. You're thinking about poor Bugs Bunny.
Kill the Wabbit is a shout out to my wife. She's a big Bugs Bunny fan. So.
Oh yeah. We are in this house too. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you have songs that we didn't mention?
Told you what I think.
Not you. I'm talking about the people listening. Do you have songs that you would add to this list? Let us know. You can email us rankingpodcast@yahoo.com or tweet us at Jason Davis Voice. Remember, the Ranking Things podcast is a production of Jason Davis VoiceOver. Please visit us at jasondavisvoice.com if you need a voice for a commercial, internet and corporate video, e-learning, phone message, and more. I'm Jason Davis.
And I'm Eric Wrights.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ranking Things podcast.
I feel good.